Have you ever noticed how easy it is to start something? That first day at the gym, exciting. That first chapter of a new book, thrilling. That new business idea, it feels like it's going to change your life. But then, life happens. The excitement fades. The middle gets messy. And eventually, that project joins the others in the stack of unfinished tasks. Most of us think we have a discipline problem. We tell ourselves we're lazy or that we just don't have enough willpower. If that sounds like you, don't feel bad. We all live in the epidemic of unfinished tasks. You don't need motivation to be a finisher. You need a system. Today, we are going beyond the pages of Jan Yager's bestseller, How to Finish Everything You Start, where she is given the blueprint of the finisher's mindset. And in the next few minutes, I am going to teach you the art of completion. Think of a bridge. You drive on, you cross the gap, you drive off. It serves a very clear, complete purpose. It's just an engineered solution to get you from point A to point B. But imagine driving onto this massive, beautifully constructed suspension bridge only to find that it just stops halfway across the river. There's just this sheer drop-off into the water because the builders got bored or scared, or maybe just got distracted by the idea of building a completely different bridge somewhere else. So it's basically a monument of good intentions, standing in the middle of a river, but completely useless to anyone actually trying to get across. And that halfway built bridge is exactly what our stack of unfinished tasks looks like. We live in a culture that's obsessed with the new. We love the rush of a fresh start, but when the excitement fades and the real work begins, many of us hit a wall. In fact, as per Dr. Yager's survey data, she found that there is a massive statistical gap between thrill of the start and reality of the finish. She found that a striking 39% of people find starting a project to be the easy part. But only 19.5%, literally half as many, find finishing to be the easier phase. Starting is fueled by this raw, intoxicating excitement of new ideas. But finishing requires pushing through inevitable friction, tolerating long stretches of boredom, navigating unexpected setbacks, and dealing with a significant amount of fear. Think about your brain like a computer. Every time you start a project and don't finish it, a little window stays open in the background of your mind. You might not be thinking about that half-organized closet or that unfinished online course right now, but your brain is. This creates what psychologists call open loops. These loops drain your mental energy, your mental RAM, leaving you feeling exhausted before you even start your day. Jan Yager calls this the paper mountain. Even if it's not physical paper, it's a mountain of should-haves and could-haves that bury your creativity and productivity. Before we talk about the how, let's understand the why of this epidemic of unfinished. Dr. Yager identified 22 internal roadblocks that stop us. The number one killer of productivity, almost 33%, is overcommitment. Trying to do too much at once is the number one reason projects go unfinished. Most of us are chronic starters. We say yes to everything because we love the rush of a new beginning. But every yes you give to a low-value task is a no you're giving to your most important goal. We're like Steve the serial hobbyist, jumping from gardening to guitar to woodworking, fueled by the love of novelty but lacking the grit to sustain the effort when things get boring. Here is the counterintuitive secret to finishing more: start less. Say no politely to the additional tasks irrelevant to your goal. Some other important roadblocks are perfectionism, poor planning, poor pacing, and procrastination. The first thing we have to realize is that perfectionism is a major completion killer. We don't finish because we're scared that the final product won't be as perfect as the version in our heads. We'd rather keep it in progress and perfect than finished and flawed. But here's the truth. A finished project that is 70% good is worth infinitely more than a perfect project that doesn't exist. The poor planning arises from how we underestimate the time required for complex tasks. It leads to the infamous death march. When there are wildly unrealistic deadlines, the stress compounds, everyone burns out, and a mountain of halfway built bridges gets left behind. Poor pacing also impacts completion. With an initial dopamine hit, you work for 3 days straight on a new project. You exhaust your cognitive reserves, you burn out, and then you literally don't touch the project again for 6 months. You fail to finish because you didn't pace your energy for the long haul. Now, let's talk about the big one: procrastination. Society treats procrastination as the villain. Pure lack of discipline, laziness. But instead, Yager does something more useful. She calls it information. It's a form of communication from your brain. Instead of feeling guilty, you need to become a detective of your own delays. Ask yourself, why am I putting this off? Is it because I'm afraid of the next step? Is it because the task isn't actually aligned with my goals anymore? Use temptation bundling. Pair the boring tasks with something exciting. Instead of waiting for the motivation to strike, break the inertia artificially. When you stop seeing procrastination as a moral failing and start seeing it as a diagnostic tool, you can actually do something about it. Approach it with the finisher's view. Now, let's learn how we can cross that finish line. The first step you can take is the environment audit. We like to think we're in control, but our environment usually runs the show. If your phone is next to you, you will check it. If you have 10 browser tabs open, you will click them. Before you start your deep work, remove 3 specific distractions. Put the phone in another room. Close the email tab. Clear your desk. This sets the stage. Deadlines are your allies, not enemy. The author has flipped the entire perspective of looking at deadlines. Deadline is a structure that converts intentions into actions. But there's a catch. One faraway deadline does not work. It is too easy to ignore. What world is breaking your project into smaller subtasks and giving each subtask its own deadline? These are called Goldilocks deadlines. Deadlines that are just right, not too far away to encourage procrastination, and not too close to cause panic. If you are planning to read a book, saying that I'll finish this book by the end of the month is too vague. Instead, set a micro deadline, say that I will finish 5 pages by end of day today. These small victories create the psychological stamina you need for the long haul. The Hemingway effect cited research, including a Japanese study, showing that motivation to finish increases significantly as the finish line comes into sight. The 40-70 rule to combat the paralysis of overplanning. Waiting to collect more information in doing research can be a very sneaky, sophisticated form of inaction. The rule gives a boundary. If you have less than 40% of the information you need, do not act yet. You are flying blind and wasting resources. But when you roughly have 70% of the information, you must take action. Waiting for 100% information will cost you the opportunity, the market will change, or someone else will do it first. 70% is the sweet spot where you have a solid foundation, you understand the core risks, and you can learn the rest 30% along the way. Remember the 25% buffer rule. We are notoriously bad at guessing how long things take. If you think a task will take 4 hours, plan for 5. Giving yourself that breathing room prevents the death march feeling where you're constantly falling behind and want to give up. Apply the just a little technique. The hardest part of finishing is usually the moment you sit down to work. The brain sees a giant task and triggers a freeze response. To bypass this, tell yourself, I'm only going to work on this for 10 minutes. After that, I can stop. Usually, once you break the initial seal, the momentum carries you through. Strategic delegation. Doing everything yourself is one of the biggest finishing blockers. Effective delegation, to people and to technology, frees you to focus on what only you can do best. The polite no. This is the most underused finishing tool in the kit. Every yes given to a new project is a no for your existing, incomplete project. Guard your commitments. The FINISH framework. When you're in the middle of a project and you feel that urge to quit, Dr. Yager suggests using the Finish mental checklist. F is for focus. Focus on one priority task and stick with it till closing its loop. I is for ignore. Interruptions will happen, but you have to return to the task immediately and ignore the distractions like checking email, notifications, and social media. Treat your work time as sacred. N is for now. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Now is the time you actually have to act, not later or tomorrow. I is for initiate and innovate. If you're stuck, change your approach. If you can't write the introduction, write the conclusion first. Just keep the project moving. S is for stay the course, expect setbacks, and commit to pushing through the boredom, however tough. H is for hail the victory. This is the most forgotten step, celebrate. When you finish, pat yourself on the back. Buy that nice dinner. Tell a friend. Positive reinforcement makes your brain want to finish the next project. Finally, something counterintuitive, strategic abandonment. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is quit. But the question is, when is quitting actually the right strategic move? If you've realized that a project no longer aligns with your values, or the cost has started to outweigh the benefit, make a conscious, active choice to stop. This isn't failing to finish, it's being a strategic manager of your own life. It frees up your energy for the things that actually matter. Create a done list. Alongside your to-do list, always record completed tasks. Maintain a done list to visualize progress and trigger the positive feedback loop of achievement. Look, finishing is hard. It's supposed to be. If it were easy, everyone would be a high achiever. But you have a choice. You can either keep piling up the stack of unfinished tasks, or you can choose to be a finisher. The finishers are not born with it. At the end, finishing is skill. And if it is a skill, it can be learnt, improved, and mastered over time by anyone who is willing to make that choice. Here's your challenge for this week. Don't start anything new. Instead, pick one small project you've been avoiding and finish it. Just one, by following only 3 steps. 1. Identify the main blocker of your unfinished task. 2. Apply finish framework to it. Before you start working on it, write one sentence for each letter. What will you focus on? How will you ignore distractions? When will you start? What will keep you going? 3. Schedule a celebration for completion. Make finishing feel like an event worth showing up for. Because once you realize you can finish, everything changes. It builds a deep, quiet confidence that you are someone who follows through. Stop starting. Start finishing. If you found this helpful, like, share, let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more such deep dives into the books that change lives. We'll see you in the next one.